Угу. Так, теперь вот это. Хорошо. Начать демонстрацию. Начать. Не вышло ничего. Так, странно. Давай еще раз. Так. Так. Переключить. Так, переключить экран. Да что такое? Так, еще раз. Так, переключить экран. Так, переключить экран. Ну, что такое? Не переключается. Еще раз. Переключить экран. Так. Переключить экран. Хорошо, вот так. Ага. Так. Good morning, students. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Now, before we begin the lecture, some information to you. Actually, the students from the group 3, A and B, will work today in seminar in the class number 8. All together, A and B, because the teacher from group A is ill. So, understand? Так, пока слайдов.
Yes.
Хорошо. Так, ну вот. I think you see the words about pathophysiology you will receive in seminar. And now only the lecture devoted to cell injury. You understand that most of disease begin with cell injury. And there is basic concept. And it is that all cell injury result in three positions: damage of cellular membrane, damage of cellular organelles, or damage of impaired cellular homeostasis. Now, I think you know what does it mean, homeostasis. It means that inside the cell keeps the concentration of ions in constant level, pH in constant level, concentration of oxygen, glucose, enzymes, and so on in constant level. But you must understand that all these indexes are not absolute, because cell can change it to make optimal conditions to work of whole organism. What is the cause of cell injury? You see, there will be mechanical, chemical, biological, and abnormal genome. You see? No, it is clear, so I will not pay more attention to it. No, this picture shows you that to keep concentration of ions inside the cell in constant level, there must be work the RT phases, or in another, there will be the pumps for which can remove or moves the ions against the gradient of concentration. Now, on the right, you see that inside the cell, the concentration of potassium is highest. You see? But outside, concentration of potassium is lower. Pay attention to this number, it is very important. As for sodium, the high concentration of sodium is outside. Calcium concentration is highest outside the cell, and that is why the ions will move due to gradient of concentration, means from higher concentration of ions to lower concentration. And that is why this will impair the cellular homeostasis, and the work of RT-phases will restore the concentration of ions inside the cell. You see that work of pumps is due to the using ATP, using energy. Now, this is the classification of cell injury. It may be, as I told you, due to etiology, due to development, acute or chronic, or due to direct or indirect, or reversible or irreversible. Now, what about direct or indirect? Because acute or chronic is clear. What does it mean, direct or indirect? Direct means that the injurious factor will influence on the cell. For example, you damage the skin. You see, that is why. For example, you cut something, some products, and cut the skin. That will be direct injury. Another, what does it mean, indirect? For example, you see, I think you know what does it mean, myocardial infarction. Yes, there is the damage of myocardial cells in the heart. What is the cause for it? You see, the main is ischemia, means the myocardial cells will not receive enough oxygen with blood. And this will lead to ischemic damage. So, this is indirect cell injury, because the first abnormality will be in cardiovascular system. Reversible or irreversible. It depends if the cell will adapt to injurious agent. If it can adapt and change its metabolism, the cell still stay alive. If it cannot adapt, for example, the injurious factor influence for prolonged time, or it may be too severe. and damage the cellular membrane. That is why there will be the irreversible cell injury. Now, what is the light changes you see? How can you understand, is this cell damaged or not? No, at first the cell must be swelling. Then there will be the changes in nuclear breakdown, and you find in the cell clumping of chromatin, means the granules of chromatin. Then you can find vacuole and toxic granules. No, about toxic granules further I will talk you. And then lipidosis will be. Irreversible cell injury, you will find, and when it will be, what I told you the first, that the cell passes point of no return. And that is why the injurious factor influence for prolonged time, and it will not permit the cell to adapt. Now, this picture shows you the right side of the picture show what here. You see, there will be injurious factor not very strong, and that is why this cell adapt to it. Yeah, and there will be reversible cell injury. You see, the left side show that injurious agent is very strong, which damage at first the plasma membrane, and this will lead to cellular death, because there will be irreversible cell injury. Now, these, you see, there is the epithelial cells here, and this picture shows you what you must understand. What does it mean, hypertrophy and hyperplasia? You see, if the number of cells increases, look here and there, but the size of this cell is not, the size or volume is not changed, there will be hyperplasia. This is one of the example of adaptation. Another will be hypertrophy. There will be what? The number of cells is not changed compared with normal, but the size, the volume of cells is increased. There will be its name as hypertrophy. This is another example of adaptation. The other will be atrophy. The cell is not die, you see, but it decreased their size, decreased their work, decreased their function, you see. So this is example of adaptation to injurious factor. There will be the examples of irreversible cell injury, because there will be the cell changed, lost their function, lost their structure, and there will be metaplasia, you see, or anaplasia or dysplasia, you see. No, this is, you see that outcome from cellular injury is necrosis or apoptosis. In detail, I will show you at the end of the lecture. But you see what will be the first. If there will be necrosis, this is the main, the cell must be swelling, must be swelling. You see here, yeah, and you find in the cell damage of nuclear, vacuoles, damage of organelles, you see, and very important characteristic of necrosis, there must be the group of cells, you see, which have the feature of necrosis. As for apoptosis, there will be programmed cellular death, and there will be the damage or the death, the single death. And the cell will shrink at first, further divided and form apoptotic bodies, as here. Now, this picture shows you what does it mean, the point of no return. So, and pay attention for the time during which these processes appears. You see, this is injurious factor. During or up to 20 minutes, there will be changes in biochemical processes, changes in metabolic processes, and you will see changes in concentration of ions, especially increased sodium and calcium. But all these will be during 20 minutes. So if during these you will remove injurious factor, the cell stay alive. If injurious factor prolong influence on the cell, this will lead to irreversible cellular injury, and it may be during from 20 up to 16 minutes, and this will lead to necrosis. This is the same. What's the mechanism of cellular injury? No, the main is hypoxia. If it will be hypoxia, there will be decreased ATP production. And if that's so, there will be decreased working of pumps, which lead to increased calcium inside the cell. Calcium can activate the phospholipases membrane binding phospholipases. That is why which type of phospholipases can activate calcium. There will be phospholipase A2, which locates in plasma membrane, phospholipase C, which locates in plasma membrane, and phospholipase D, which locates in organelles membrane. Well, that is why increased cytosolic calcium will lead to damage of cellular membrane and organelles membrane. If that's so, there will be the conditions for influence on the cell free radicals. Free radicals can influence on plasma membrane or deeper inside the cell. And one of the compensatory mechanisms of cellular injury is decreased all synthetic processes, not only protein synthesis, but maybe hormone synthesis, steroid hormone synthesis. All these might be decreases. Now, this is the pathogenesis mechanism of cellular injury during ischemia. You see, if there is ischemia, the cell decrease oxygen because there will be decreased blood flow which comes to the cell, decreased oxygen and decreased glucose. Now, as for decreased oxygen, approximately we discussed it. So the concentration, complication of it will be decreased ATP, impaired of pumps, and increased sodium, calcium, and water inside the cell. Potassium and magnesium will be decreased inside the cell. Increased water inside the cell lead to the cellular swelling. As for decreased glucose in blood which comes to the cell, lead to or switched on anaerobic glycolysis. You see, if there is anaerobic glycolysis, there will be increased lactic acid, means inside the cells appears acidosis, means pH decreases, concentration of hydrogen ions increases. If that's so, if there appears acidosis, this will damage the enzymes, intracellular enzymes. You know that approximately all enzymes are proteins in nature. What will be with proteins in acidic situation? There will be denaturation of proteins. But that is why I showed previously, in damaged cells, you will find toxic granules. Toxic granules means there is denaturated proteins which appears in the cell. And another one, no, this is not only the decreased glucose in blood. There will be increased calcium in cytoplasm because increased calcium in cytoplasm lead to lipid peroxidation. And lipid peroxidation means there will be the membrane damaged. Now, what does it mean, lipid peroxidation? It means that you know that phospholipids has head which is hydrophilic, and the tails And tails are hydrophobic, means don't permit water to come inside the cell. Значит, lipid peroxidation due to activation of phospholipases A2, phospholipases C, damage the tails of phospholipids. And that is why all free radicals will come in deeper inside the cell, and water freely comes inside the cell. This is пропустим. Так. What we told about ischemia, and one of the complications of ischemia is decreased oxygen. So causes of hypoxia, значит, hypoxia, ischemia means the reduced blood flow, and that is why there will be hypoxia of the cells. You see, hypoxemia, you see, when oxygen decreases in blood, and there are very many causes of it. It may be decreased oxygen in surrounding air, for example, in mountain regions, you see. Or there may be the pathology of respiratory system, which lead to decreased ventilation. Or there may be pathology of cardiovascular system, which lead to decreased perfusion. Or decreased oxygen in blood may be due to another diseases, for example, due to anemia. Or there may be decreased hematopoiesis, impaired of hematopoiesis. For example, the patient receive X-ray radiation. You see, this is damage the bone marrow, and this will lead to decreased proliferation of erythrocyte. So there will be decreased oxygen in blood, and sometimes severe bleeding, massive bleeding, which lead to decreased erythrocyte in blood, lead to decreased oxygen in blood. Now, this is about necrosis. Пропустим. Now, this is again about the complication of ATP production, but this is remember to you the function of proteins which cell can lose if there will be decreased protein synthesis. Now you know that protein are in content of plasma membrane, the first. Protein will be in content of enzymes. You see, protein may be transporter for any chemicals. For example, transferrin. You see, transferrin or any other transporter protein. See. But if there is decreased protein synthesis or appears abnormal proteins, all these function, the cell lose all these function. This is processes which name reperfusion injury. This will show you about the process which name paradox. What does it mean, paradox? Means there is, in our example, there will be increased fresh blood. It must be better for organism. There will lead to the cellular death. Now let's look about. You see, if there is the injury in any tissue, for example, the massive bleeding after the bone damage of breakdown of bones, for example, in the head, in the hand, you will make the first help for this patient. Means to stop bleeding, you put tourniquet upper than this injury. So this tourniquet stop bleeding, you see? And you know that you put the notice in this tourniquet at what time you put it on the hand. What will be the tissue below tourniquet will suffer from hypoxia. And we know that during 20 minutes after this, all the processes which we discussed previously will be in these cells. Means there will be ischemia due to you press the blood vessels. Hypoxia means there will be decreased work of pumps, means there will be decreased ATP production, which lead to increased sodium inside the cell, calcium inside the cell, all the cells swelling, you see. And after 1 hours after this, you must remove tourniquet. If you do this, you must do that very slower. Why? When you take off tourniquet from the hand, the fresh blood, which there are a lot of oxygen, comes in the region which locates below tourniquet, where all these pathological processes take place. And what we receive, except increasing situation, we find that there will be increased permeability of membrane. You see, increased oxygen lead to increased production of oxygen content free radicals. All these lead to membrane damage, you see, and that is why they may lead to cellular death, you see. What this is? Так, что такое? No, I think as you you understand that the damage of cellular membrane is the cause which lead to irreversible cell injury. That is why there are very many causes which may damage the cellular membrane, and except hypoxia, which we discussed, they will be free radicals. What does it mean, free radicals? You see that all chemical has its own nucleus, and around the nucleus they work the pair of electron around the nucleus on its own orbits. You see, there must be pair of electrons. Free radicals appears if on this pair of electrons influence any types of energy which has severe power. And that is why this energy will unpair these electrons. And chemical which has unpaired electron on its outside orbit, name free radicals. Now, you see, the main aggressive free radical is the free radicals which has oxygen, and the highest is superoxide free radicals. This is this O2 and point on the upper right corner. Now this is which reaction appears. Hydroxyl radicals appears when water loss one hydrogen ions, and that is why there appears hydroxyl radical. You see? Another one. You see, all chemicals which has changed valency may be may work as a donor for electron. For example, hydrogen peroxide, you see, water, plus iron, ferrum, and ferrum, valency 2. You see, what will be? It will turn into 3, you see, and there appears 2 hydroxyl free radical. The same may did the nitric oxide, you see. Now, this is the cellular sources of free radicals. You see, it may be the plasma membrane, it may be the nucleus, it may be the mitochondria, and so on. Now, this is the complication of work on our organism free radicals. No, in common, you must understand that it will be what? The damage of cells. It may influence on nuclear and lead to mutation of genes. That is why the cell begin to synthesize abnormal proteins, you see, and that is why there will be the changes, metabolism of all, not only inside the cell, but inside the organism. The question is, if there are a lot of causes which lead to appears free radicals, why all of us stay alive? All our cells are not damaged. The answer is that inside all of the cells there are antioxidant system. Antioxidant system. No, this is influence of radiation means free radicals on nuclear and change the genes work means lead to mutation. Okay. What this is antioxidant. Значит, inside the cell there are 3 antioxidants. Remember it and write it down, please. They are superoxide dismutase. Now, the mechanism of its work is different, but the end of is to stop appears the free radicals, because you know that appears free radical is the radiation lead to cascade reactions, means appears one free radicals, influence on the other chemical, steal from it electron to make the pair, you see, in then another, and another, so appears a lot of free radicals. What's the effect of superoxide dismutase? Look, this is what? This is, you see, superoxide free radicals. The superoxide dismutase influence on this free radical, and there appears hydroxide peroxide. You see, on this, wait, так, return. On this influence another antioxidant, catalase. Catalase from these peroxide made the 2 water molecules. And the third antioxidant is glutathione peroxidase. Glutathione peroxidase gives its own electron to iron 2 and make it iron 3. So these superoxide free radical with oxygen disappeared. You see? Значит, these antioxidant system, these 3 antioxidants are in all our cells. In the cells of lung, which has the contact with oxygen has another antioxidant named as ubiquinone. No, except these, there may be another antioxidant. They will be at first vitamin C. See, but you must understand that vitamin C as antioxidant works only in high dose. And you understand that. And remember, when you catch cold or receive virus or bacterial disease, except antibiotic, antiviral drugs, the doctor will recommend to you high dose of vitamin C, approximately 1 gram per day, you see? And you must remember about this. But you know that the low dose of vitamin C will work as pro-oxidant, means increased concentration of free radicals. Another very important antioxidant is vitamin E or alpha tocopherol. What is its effect? It restores the damaged tails of phospholipids. I will show you the picture. Look here, where you find the vitamin E. In butter at first, you see? Значит, look, vitamin E is the pink, you see, pink bubble here. Now, look, at the beginning of this plasma membrane, you see the tail of lipids is damaged, see? And the bubble with black, this is free radicals, binds to this tail and damage it. What the effect of tocopherol? It binds to these free radicals, you see, and restore the tails. That is why hydrophobic feature of plasma membrane must be restored. Don't permit water comes inside the cell. Clear? Except vitamin C and E, they are microelements such as zincus and selenium. You know that you must use in your diet C products. You see, selenium will very power antioxidant. Then copper, which has a lot of superoxide dismutase. You see. Now, this is because we discussed some words about the role of calcium, and this picture shows you, and to remember only, I think you know it, you see that inside the cells there are the storage for calcium. They are mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum. Means when calcium comes inside the cells in excessive concentration, calcium comes in mitochondria and in endoplasmic reticulum and keep there. you see. But if these mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum is fulfilled by calcium, it will come from it and increase its concentration in plasma. And it is not good. I told you that calcium will activate membrane binding phospholipases, the first, activate proteases, you see, no, you understand the results of this one. This is the first negative effect of increased calcium inside the cell. And another one, you see, if calcium stay in mitochondria, inside of mitochondria is phosphoric acid. That is why calcium makes the insoluble salt with phosphoric acid, which drops on crystal on inside the mitochondria, damage it, and that is why this is another cause for decreased ATP synthesis. No, this is the again about the destructive effect of calcium. Так. No, this is about the calcium homeostasis in injured cells. No, I think we discussed it. No, except this one, what increased calcium inside the cell lead to activation of lipid peroxidation. You see, activation of lipid peroxidation lead to what? Not only the damage of plasma membrane, but the damage of mitochondrial damage. No, and that is why what just now I told you, increased calcium in mitochondria that lead to decreased ATP synthesis. Now again, the main negative effect of increased calcium, increased lipid peroxidation, protein oxidation, and nucleic acid oxidation. Now it is clear because I told you increased calcium inside the cell lead to decreased work of enzymes, you see, because it will activate proteases, you see, not only phospholipases, but proteases, and that is why there appears abnormal protein or decreased protein synthesis at all. Now, this is about the cellular membrane damage. I think we discussed it already. This is another cause which lead to membrane damage irreversibly. This is about complement system. I think you know what does it mean, complement system. It is 9 proteins which separately from each other swim in our blood. And there are 3 pathways for activation of this complement system. They name as C1, C2, and up to C9. So, when there appears antigen-antibody complex, look here on the left corner here. This green is antigen, this red one is antibody. When there appears complex antigen-antibody, they will activate complement system from C1 and cascade of it. No, I will not tell you now. There will be the theme of inflammation there. But what will be the result? No, the result will be the same in all pathways. Значит, if there will be activation complement system from C1, it named as classical pathways. Then, if it will be activation of complement system from C3, yeah, it named as alternative pathways. And the third is Monod's. There will be appears from C3 to. Yeah? What? Doesn't matter which pathways activates the complement system. The end will be the same. Formation of membrane attack complex. What does it mean, membrane attack complex? What look here. No, this is the alternative pathways, means begins from C3. Yeah, what? Yeah, C3 divided into C3A, C3B, yeah, and then there appears C5A and C5B, yeah, and further C5B, would look here, right lower corner, значит, C5B, then 6, C6, C7, C8, C9. With all these proteins comes and binds together and form the tube. This tube is a protein in nature. And you see, in this tube, there are the channel inside. If it is formed from protein, you understand, protein can attract water. So, and this complex comes through the plasma membrane. That is why the water can freely comes inside the cells, and ions will come from the cells to outside. Значит, this complex named membrane attack complex, and this will damage the membrane, plasma membrane, and this will lead to irreversible cellular injury. This is again what look. the line at the end of this picture, you see the red. You see the red. This is the plasma membrane, and this red is one of the component of complement, and you see what is bind here, then 3, then 3, and then 5, and there appears what the tube consists of proteins. Understand? No, and the last will be the characteristic of necrosis and apoptosis. So, if we think about necrosis, you understand that there is characteristic of cellular death. You understand? Yeah. The cause which lead to necrosis, we understand that there will be irreversible cellular injury. The main is the swelling of the cell and changes in cellular homeostasis due to stoppage of ATP production and stoppage of pumps, working of pumps. That is why this will lead to cellular death. Now, what feature of necrosis? Now, at first, there must be the group of cells I told you. Then there must be the swelling of cells, and you will see the damage of membrane or the damage of intracellular organelles. Another one, you will see that as there appears vacuoles inside the cells, these vacuoles will push the organelles to periphery. You see? Another one, you will find that in the cells, damaged cells, death cells, there is a breakdown of nuclei, and chromatin formed the granules. It named as pycnosis of nuclei. Another type of cellular death named as apoptosis. No, except, you see, necrosis, you see, it is very clear to find out is there necrosis or apoptosis. Look here, what this is programmed cell death. What does it mean? So in this cell, what this, from the nucleus, there appears command, means there is activation of some genes which make command to the cell, and cell begin shrinked. You see? Shrinked cell. Further, this cell, well, this is the third picture, this cell, shrink cell, divided to apoptotic bodies. And you see the content of these apoptotic bodies is different. In some appears mitochondria, in some appears chromatin, in some lysosome, so on. And further, the cells neighbor to these apoptotic cells will endocytosis, you see, reabsorb these apoptotic bodies. This cell is not phagocyte cell, but it can reabsorb these apoptotic bodies. It is too small, and that is why it can't do that. But this is no, this is the trigger which can increase or begin the apoptosis inside the cell. But first there will be the free radicals, you see, at first. Then it may be some enzymes such as tumor necrosis factor alpha. You see, that is why the positive effect of apoptosis is decreased tumor cell. You see, because at the beginning of tumor processes, the apoptosis is increased. Then the ischemia, if it is ischemia, this will stimulate apoptosis. And some poisoning will lead to. If we think about this is the induced apoptosis. But look here, and you see, значит, if apoptosis is increases, this may lead to such disease as damage of bone marrow, you see, damage of beta cells which lead to diabetes mellitus, damage of hepatocyte, you see, and this will lead to liver failure, you see. And then it may lead to damage of some nerve cells. So there will be neuronal degeneration. So this may lead to such disease as Parkinson's disease, Huntington disease, and so on. What will be if there will be decreased apoptosis? You see, at first, decreased apoptosis. There may be, for example, some genetic defect. This is the main, because if it is genetic defect, you find there is damage of some genes, you see, and this will lead to decreased apoptosis. If there is decreased apoptosis, we told previously, there may be increased tumor disease. There will be chronic infections in organism. You see, what this is. Так, ну ладно, все. And the last position, which you must know, this information will be not in colloquium, but about necrosis and apoptosis, there must be. Another about the autophagy. I think you will receive information in biology about this. You see, this is the mechanisms, no, which lead to the cellular death. They may be micro autophagy, macro autophagy, and chaperone means chaperone induced autophagy. No, what are there? You see, all the cells, the cellular waste, you see, will be removed from our organism. So it is a good mechanism. No, this one, you see, this one. This is the this is the cell, you see. Inside the cell there is activation of lysosome, you see, and from the fragment of membrane they form the outer phagosome. You see what this one, outer phagosome with the some waste inside. You see, and what are there? It will come to the cells, binding to it, and with the lysosomal enzymes damage it. You see, this is the first. The second, it will not, it binds to, but it not comes inside, but lysosome will comes in these outer phagosome and damage it outside the cell. What this is the work of. The lecture is over. As we work without break time, our time is over. So thank you for your attention and see you in seminar. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye, professor.
Так, сейчас найдем.
Bye.